Welcome everybody to CoCreative NoCode's Office Hours, episode number 117. I am Tonya, your host, and we're here with our member Thomas and Mike Kim. And Thomas doesn't have anything in particular to talk about today, but we'll get started in a moment anyway. If this is your first time joining us, watching live on Facebook, or perhaps you're watching the replay on YouTube, please go ahead and give the live a like. Or the video a like. Please subscribe and make sure those notifications are turned on so you don't miss anything. If you are watching live, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and write us a comment. And if you'd like to join us for a complimentary session, tonight would be a great time to do that. Go ahead and comment, and Kim will send you some credentials and we'll get you live on the Zoom and help answer any bubble questions you might have. We do this every day of the week, Monday through Friday, and we're getting ready to add more. I'm super excited about it. We will be adding some more office hours times. Those times will be coming shortly, but they're going to be European friendly. So Pablo will be doing office hours from Spain, and roughly 4 a.m. Pacific time, which I think is 1 p.m. in Spain and maybe 12 p.m. in the UK. And that's going to be coming soon. We'll probably do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something like that. But in the meantime, we do this office hours with me 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And if you join at CoCreativeNoCode.com, soon to be ProNoCode.com, you can go ahead and get grandfathered in at the $49 per month rate to attend all of our office hours. In the next, I can't even say it, it might be as soon as this weekend. This price is going up to $99 per month. So please, by all means, go and sign up at CoCreativeNoCode.com while you can for $49 per month and get grandfathered in so you can come to all of our office hour sessions. What do you think? Thomas, is that a deal? You've been with us for a while. I think you can speak to whether, yeah, it's a lot. You get, office hours sometimes last over 2 hours. Think about that, multiply that by 5 and soon to be 7, and you've got, a good 14, 15 hours maybe of live help on office hours. For a bargain price of $99, but if you act soon, maybe as low as $49. Okay, I'll stop pitching. What do you want to talk about, Thomas?
Have you messed around with Toolbox, JavaScript Toolbox?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I don't know much JavaScript, but I have played around with Toolbox. It's something that comes already preloaded for you with Canvas.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of working with it? Anything we could just peek at?
Sure. So let's say I want to go. The one thing that I've done is created on a button or on any click to open it up in a new tab using JavaScript, using Toolbox. So I know if you do a link here, you have the option here, open in a new tab like that. But if you're using the navigate, like if I go here and I just have a regular text, or even if I have a button and I want the click of the text or the button or whatever element it is, I want it to navigate to a new page, I can do that. I go here and I go navigate, go to page. This is internal pages, right? And if I go to, see, it doesn't give you, for internal pages, it doesn't give you the option to open it up in a new tab, right? Or if I do navigate to open an external website, I think this one might actually open it up in a new tab automatically. Let's just try it. Let's go to this and I preview. Nope. It doesn't automatically open a new tab, but I want it to. I want it to open a new tab. So what I can do is I can search using Google. I can say JavaScript open new tab, like so. Stack Overflow is great. So window open URL blank here. And copy that. And then I can say in here, say toolbox or JavaScript, run JavaScript. The run JavaScript action here is available because I have this toolbox plugin added. So run JavaScript is an action related to this plugin. So I come here, run JavaScript, and I say, okay, I want to open my URL. I probably have to put the URL in quotations, I'm guessing. So I'm going to take this out and redo it. And then I preview. And you see it opened up in a new tab instead.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Like
bringing a little bit of JavaScript to your bubble apps. If you want to bring a lot more JavaScript, like let's say you're a JavaScript developer, which I have decided that I'm an aspiring JavaScript developer. So someday you could come to my plugins instead of my apps, and you can create your own JavaScript plugin, JavaScript written plugin. So you can make do all of your code and everything and get it working just right, and you can deploy it into your own apps, right? And if you wanted to make money on it, you could list it like in the marketplace for plugins. Or if you just wanted to share it with the world, you could make it a free plugin. But that's where the heavier uses of JavaScript go, is generally in a plugin.
So you suggest, like, if you're doing any heavy, like you said, heavy use, keep it in the plugin. Don't try to do it through, for example, a bubble application.
Yeah. So like if you need an example would be, we did this, what was it called? We used a JavaScript library to create a charting functionality, but like the whole functionality of it was JavaScript. So we did that in a plugin. We didn't do that in a regular bubble interface, like in a bubble page. We did all of the JavaScript. We used the JavaScript library that our client is purchasing, and we did it in here. And then just made it available to the app, the client's app. And then we're not making it available to just any app. We're only making it available to the client who paid for it. So.
Gotcha. Keeping it private.
Yep.
Yeah, the reason I asked these things is I was mentioning the Miley search. It might make sense to do it through plugins. There's still a lot to learn.
Yeah. If you need a lot of like JavaScript or other coding, I don't know if it takes, like if it takes, this plugin uses jQuery, but I don't know like if they're particular, if it only works with JavaScript or if it works with other languages. I know I had a client at one point who was doing a lot with PHP in his app. He was actually using PHP for his workflows. He wasn't using regular bubble workflows. He was like, I can just do the job so much better with PHP. I honestly wondered why he was using bubble, to be honest. Like, it's like, why are you choosing to use bubble if you can use PHP? Like, but maybe.
Seems like Bubble is pretty supportive of most languages. I know one time you had mentioned someone using Python.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you could just, for the most part, get a lot of languages in here,
Yep.
which is, I'm curious to know how much do you think using other languages could help improve the efficiency of an application? I guess so. I guess maybe if you're doing
A
very
lot, by a lot.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah.
I mean, I was in a meeting with Eli and my PD today, and they were talking about that app that we're doing where the back end, where the database is going to be on back end lists and not in Bubble. And man, that conversation was over my head. It just was like, I was like,
Straight.
maybe I understood 20% of what they were saying. But just talking about how flexible backendless is in order to like be able to manipulate data and organize data and set it up exactly as you need to make it work well with Bubble. Like it just seems like, oh man, that would be so cool if I could just build apps using backendless as the back end and Bubble as the front end. Like some of the limitations or the things that we work really hard to overcome in Bubble are actually very simple with other things. Like that was the same client who was doing a lot with what was it? I just said it like 2 seconds ago. Which language was it? He was like writing a bunch of, maybe it was Python. Maybe it was Python and not PHP.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was like writing a lot of his workflows and stuff using a separate language, whatever it was. And his developers, because he had multiple developers working on his app, were super frustrated because they could code it so much better or faster if they just weren't using Bubble. Like they were frustrated because Bubble was slowing them down. Now, Bubble does not slow no coders down, it speeds them up, right? But there is some level of not just learning, but limitations to what that you have to think of workarounds for in Bubble that you don't, that come very easily for coding languages, right? Like an example of that, I think, would be like working with lists and recursive like workflows, like looping through things. Like I think that comes very naturally to something like JavaScript and most languages, as far as I know, because I encountered it when I was looking at like Ruby on Rails and Python and all sorts of languages I've looked at before. Like the concept of working with arrays and lists of things and comparing like list positions of things and that kind of thing. Bubble has trouble with that. So it speeds us up, but at some point there's a trade-off. You can be really good at Bubble and thinking through how you might solve something with Bubble, but it's possible that it could be that you're having to think so hard about it because Bubble doesn't do it as well as another
language
platform or language. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm sure they built it like that because there's so much dependence upon like Bubble as a company.
oh, not sure I understood what you meant.
I was wondering, I feel like the flexibility that comes from like other languages is because it's so independent of a company. It's mostly just like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and in this particular case, perhaps that was maybe a reason, just an assumption.
Well, and just in studying like where JavaScript came from and how it was developed and how we came to the standards that we've come to with the internet wasn't necessarily that the best one out, right? Like it's just like with anything, we tend to adopt what was used before. And yeah, the story of how like we ended up with the standards and protocols that we did is actually pretty interesting. Like if you go back and you research like, well, how did we end up with the internet as we know it today? It's pretty like interesting, like who was doing what and what's probably better but didn't win out because it was already like the momentum with JavaScript was so high or whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
Innovation moves quick. My grandma the other day was like, she's like, I don't really hear about Yahoo these days. I'm like, yep, they were eating
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah. Or AOL.
Foreign language.
America Online. Yep.
America.
I was like 12 years old when I was first
Yeah.
on America Online. Like old school where you would hear the screeching of the modem dialing up.
Man, I'm still kind of a baby, but I remember like the dial-up, I guess dial-up internet, was that what it was? It was like popular. I remember spending like 10 minutes just setting up the router to do its thing and pass information. I was like, oh my God.
When was that?
Now here we are.
I mean, I've been using Wi-Fi for over 20 years.
It's wild. Yeah.
So when could you have possibly been dealing with dial-up?
My mom, I think, just had like I don't know, to be honest. I was really young. I'm 27 now, so let's see. I was probably like 13, 14.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
I remember I had to click a button and like my computer was doing something and then like finally it got connected. And then I remember having to unconnect. I had to like disconnect it too, and that took time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I think the summer of probably 2001 was my first experience with Wi-Fi.
Really? Damn. I didn't realize Wi-Fi was around that.
So what?
I didn't realize Wi-Fi in itself. It must have been
A big deal? Oh yeah, huge. Huge deal.
I never thought about when Wi-Fi became a thing. I thought it was more in like the last 10 years.
Probably. Oh, I mean, so to be fair, we were early adopters. Like my dad was an early adopter of technology in general. And then my former fiance, who is specifically coming to mind, he was an early adopter of Wi-Fi. Like as soon as it was something that you could do, we did it. So
what was it like?
And so it was amazing at the time, but probably now if you put me on the same connection, I'd probably throw my computer out of the window out of frustration.
You wouldn't be able to get a Zoom call in.
No, there's no way. I mean, I'm running Zoom on 2 different computers, right? Because I have my Windows computer that I'm broadcasting Zoom live on Facebook and recording it to the cloud on. And then I'm sharing my screen from my other computer. So I actually have 2 instances of the same Zoom session running, and one is on Wi-Fi and one is plugged into the Ethernet. So, but up until 2 weeks ago, I was running both on Wi-Fi, and for the most part, it was fine. So, had a couple of hiccups there, but yeah. If that's you watching us live, please do say hello. And if you have any questions, if you want us to address anything bubble wise, please toss the question in the comments, or you can get a link from Kim and you can come join us on the Zoom. We'd love to have the company. We're maintaining our conversation loosely around bubble and all things internet at the moment, but we'd love to entertain more bubble related questions.
I feel like a lot of newcomers I don't want to say they're not resourceful, but I feel like perhaps there's a bit of oversight over a lot of these sorts of resources.
Over which resources?
Just like when you're looking for help for anything bubble related.
Yeah, well, we're gonna start flooding all of the channels with people and hopefully you will help with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, just getting the word out because
Get in
in
there.
case you missed the announcement last week, we've taken on 2 partners at CoCreative NoCode. We're becoming pro NoCode and we're going to be we're going to be adding office hours and adding a super like an extra tier. So we haven't nailed down all of the specifics on it, but it's probably going to be launched in the next week or so. Pretty excited. Certainly it's exciting because tomorrow I think Justin and Pablo are both going to be on office hours. We're going to start having, I think we're going to try definitely for the morning sessions, we're going to make it at least 2 people on each session. So two of us on. So adding some, I think Justin said he's been bubbling for 6 years.
Yeah.
Long time. It's
Yeah.
like from the beginning of Bubble. Like, how did you even know Bubble existed 6 years ago? Is like what I want to ask.
Right?
Like, how did you know?
How are you
But-
that ahead of the curve?
Yeah. So hello, Bubble community. I'm very new to Bubble and need some assistance, please. I created a drop down that filters Tinder-Pile slides, which works perfectly, except when the Tinder-Pile slide is empty, nothing to show from the selection made in the dropdown. Then it shows the data of the previous Tinder-Pile slide and not blank data. The slide is blank, but the data is not. This is something I'd probably have to play around with, Tamarin. So maybe if you can come to office hours, I don't know if you got your answer elsewhere. I did see you posted it in other groups as well. But my guess is there's going to be an action that's related to the plugin to clear the Tinder piles. So we can go look and see, because I think that's I mean, even if it's a paid plugin, I should be able to do it. So the keyword for this, Kim, would be Tinder pile, all one word. Or maybe not all one word. Let's see here. Tinder-like Pile by Bubble. Here, so we'll install it. I just joined Bumble, Thomas. I've never had to swipe left or right before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels intimidating a little bit.
Wait. You joined Bumble or are you just making a joke?
No, I joined Bumble,
Yeah.
the dating app. Yeah.
Nice. I'd ask more questions, but I don't want to be so nosy.
I mean, I am putting it out there on Bumble, so might as well advertising myself one way or the other here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So data source, and then I guess if you swipe or whatever, so maybe on elements, interactions, user scrolls, custom elements, a Tinder piles card is swiped right. Right, and then so like you could do something like when this Tinder pile current slide, and then whatever you set that data to will be here, and you could probably say is empty. Then you could direct it to do something different than it's already doing, is my guess. It'll be something like that to kind of like manipulate it so that you don't end up showing the last data in the empty slide. It's my guess anyway. So like if I make this tally, do a search for tally image field, I don't know. So then I come back to the workflow here and I say current slide is empty. Then I can tell it what to do under that circumstance.
Cool. I didn't even know there was a plugin for this functionality.
I learned about it. There's a really good Udemy tutorial for like creating a Tinder clone. Let's find it. It's actually really good, like
Very well made.
yeah, like I really like Greg John. I learned Bubble from Greg John of Build Camp via a Udemy course that I paid like $10 for, and I highly recommend it. So that's this one that I did. I actually used the app that I built following this tutorial as like my portfolio to get my first paid gig. Like 3 weeks after I started taking this course, I got my first paid gig doing Bubble development. But this one by yeah, so complete Bubble. Like take me to the home page.
Were you going to say that this one's just like really thorough?
Yeah, I was just looking for his face to make sure it's the right one. And it is. This one actually, now it's a little dated because courses age. So I don't know how long it's been since he updated this. But a year ago, it was still really accurate. And it goes into like, he goes step by step explaining like the design tab, like what each of these things are that you see normally, right? And then he takes you through the whole process of building a Tinder clone, right? And it's and I didn't sit through it step by step and actually do what he was showing the users to do, but I did watch it while I was like making dinner. Like I would turn it on and I would listen to what he was saying and I'd go and I'd peek at my screen because he was going through things more thoroughly, step by step, as opposed to just teaching by doing, which was what Greg John was doing. So yeah.
There you go. That's cool. Tinder-like Pile.
Tinder-like Pile.
A few years ago, I was looking to build something like this. I gathered a little team, a few friends. We wanted to create something like a Tinder-like application for like mentors and mentees.
Oh, got it.
Go anywhere, but just building this out was very difficult back then.
Yeah. Well, the founder of Bumble was also a co-founder of Tinder.
Oh, what's her name?
So, what is that?
Bumble.
Whitney Wolf.
This girl.
And if you go and like listen to her, like she did the How I Built This podcast a couple times, I think.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's really interesting to like listen to her story, like how she went from Tinder, which I don't think was originally her idea, but she was part of the like founding team. And then she kind of got like in a very ugly, very public way, got ousted from it. And sort of went into this like deep depression because people were mistreating her online, fueled by this feud. And but then somehow she was like, she wanted to do something with an app again, but she did not want to be doing a dating app. And someone approached her with investment money and said, no, you really do need to make it better for women and dating. And Bumble was the result. So
Now the gals can message you first.
And now, yes, now the girls do all of the messaging first. Yeah.
They hit you with a hey, and I'm like, damn, girl, just ping pong that to me.
Well, I don't think that's entirely accurate because it's not like, I think there've been, I wasn't saying what you were saying wasn't accurate. The idea that women make the first move on that app is kind of inaccurate because anyone can do the swiping thing, right? And so the guy can show interest. And then I don't know how they do it for their same-sex dating. Like, I'm not sure how that works.
Oh, I didn't even know that was an option. Wow.
Yeah.
I've been off things for a very long time.
Well, Bumble allows you to do dating, do friendship, or do business. Now they have
that on Bumble for the business.
I'm not currently, but maybe I'll try it. We'll see. I'm open to the possibilities here, so we'll see. But
from business to lovers.
But I did end up like opening up the app yesterday, and my like financial advisor was staring me in the face, and I was like, I know you.
What's up? That's funny. That is funny.
Yeah. So small world. I have said before that Tucson is like the biggest small town or the smallest big town, whichever way you want to look at it.
I love Philly. Everywhere I go, I see the same faces. I'm like, how did I find you 20 miles away from home?
That's weird. Yeah. But let's see. I think that's a start for Tamara, and we kind of went into Paul salvage. I want to ask this question again for Paul on tomorrow when we have Pablo and or Justin on the line.
Any cool creative ideas for business ideas for Bubble? Anything Bubble related? I know one time you had mentioned the pitching people that working with like formulaic like data tables.
Wait, pitching people what? Oh, the ones who are making the Excels and the Google Sheets that they're selling?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool. So let me see if I can find it. I still think that would be cool. We should just do that like right now.
I mean, girl, I'll be your legs. You could just direct me.
I
was just curious though, because I was thinking, I was like, all right, well, I mean, a lot of them are working with formulas from what I remember off the top of my head. So how effective is Bubble as a solution?
So you can still do formulas with Bubble. Yeah, like if you need to do it to calculate stuff, you can do it on the page, the calculations, or you could do a plugin that you make for it. Or you could, once we finally figure out how to use backend lists, we could use backend lists for it. See my saved here.
Turn pro NoCode into an ideation tank.
Where's my collection? Here we go. I think it was this one. So these are like all of the spreadsheets that I found for sale, like people selling spreadsheets on Facebook. And my idea that Thomas was referencing is like, go and pay the whatever amount of money for one of these sheets, build it into a Bubble app, and then take it back to the owner of it and say, okay, we'll give you this app, which is going to be much better to sell access to the app than to a sheet. And then, and then we'll take a percentage, right? So
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. You can see how much I scroll on Facebook.
Yeah. These are all specifically things where people are selling things.
Yeah, most of them are. I think maybe I was saving some books too. Because that was back when I was still doing entreprising at the beginning of my bubble journey before I decided to stop doing entreprising. But yeah, it would be cool even just to build entreprising in bubble.
I
Like,
was thinking about as like a business from like, because you know, Bubble, I feel like the clients that come to build on Bubble are very demanding. You know,
mhm.
but people who don't know about Bubble perhaps are not as demanding. So maybe this would be a more pleasant sort of job pitching to people like this who don't expect as much. Pitching people in general, like having that as you know.
Like, I mean, I think if you can get their attention, like if you could actually like get them to pay attention to you and like invite them to their own app, essentially.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be creeped out. They might send you a cease and desist or something. It'd be like, okay, well, I'll just shut it down. No big deal,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But let's yeah, I think it would be cool. Like if somebody approached you and said, look, you're giving like you make the one-time fee that you charge for this, but someone can give it to other people. Nothing is stopping someone from taking a Google sheet and copying it and like giving it to someone else. Maybe
Even
there's
yeah, even analytics, you know, like how do you keep track of all that? How do you keep track of what users are doing?
right. You can't. So yeah, I still think it's a good idea. So this is how I won't open it because who knows what's in there. But the wanna buy, this is how I budget on Facebook, is because I put anything that I want to buy, I just click save and save it in this folder. And it gives me whatever like endorphin rush of actually buying it. Like I feel like I just put it there and I'm like, okay, I put it like I'm saving it for later. And for some reason it makes me feel good enough. And then if you really want to sell to me on Facebook, you've got to retarget me like a billion times. You have to put the ad in front of me. And then I'll be like, all right, I'll buy it. I've mostly had good luck buying stuff on Facebook.
I've never bought anything on Facebook.
Never? Really? You're not on, you don't scroll as much as I do.
Yeah, not on social media.
Like, I mean, if I go,
I used to get depressed. I'd scroll all day.
I should buy these books. I like these guys. I did buy this. I bought this.
You should or you want to?
I should.
That means you won't.
I might. I don't know. The books that they write are for kids.
Oh, that's cool. I did not read that until now.
So yeah, I did buy this. It is sitting right behind me on the floor. I need to try it out. It's a bionic gym. So it'll like you wrap it around your legs and it makes your muscles contract as if you were shivering. And if you put up the intensity, it gives you cardio workout like this.
That's some innovative stuff.
Yeah. So they recommend you start in standing position, but eventually you should be able to like sit or even lie down and like get cardio. I'm hoping to do this at low frequencies, like lower intensities while I'm working is the idea here.
Let me know how that goes. This is a curious thing as someone who's been exercising.
I was so worried about it. Like I put it off. I didn't see this ad until after I bought my treadmill and I was kind of mad. It's like, oh, and I put it off for months and months. And especially like if you read these comments, it talks like, yeah, like you just read these comments about what people are saying. Oh, and they're so not cool, right? Like people are like being like this is a good one, but mostly they're making fun of you for being lazy if you buy this thing. But then once I bought it, I was invited before it even arrived in the emails. I was invited to the private Facebook groups. And the people in this Facebook group, like they show, like it's a much, I can't show it to you because you kind of promised that you won't show it.
Yeah, no.
It's a much different experience. So
Cool.
yeah,
Cool stuff. Interesting.
so I'm hopeful. All right, Thomas, anything else you want to cover this evening?
No. I'll
No.
think of cooler stuff for the next time.
Cool, no worries. Thinking I did something with Juan earlier. Maybe I'll show you that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was saying that this workflow, if you take the existing yes and no, and you set it to the current cells, yes, no, and then say is no, that it flips it, it changes it. It's like a switch.
Wait. This is
So
confusing.
you know what a bubble yes no is, right? It's just a Boolean field.
Mhm.
Okay. So if I take a Boolean field, which could be yes or no, and I take its value, which is yes or no, and then I set it to is no, it just flips it to the opposite.
What's the point of this exactly?
So he has some data to import, and the data that he's importing compared to the data that the data type in Bubble, one has the yes, no set to is not, and the other has the yes, no set to is. So they're like opposites. And he needs to convert the data that he's importing into the data type to make it compatible with the data type that exists. So he wants to flip it all. And so this is how he can do that, running like basically on a list or a recursive workflow to go through and flip all of the yes, no's to the opposite. And so I was a little suspicious because I was like, well, you're setting it to no, but sure enough,
Does it work?
it flips it back and forth.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it
Where did you
worked.
get this from? It just raw creativeness, or?
I don't know exactly where he got it from, but yeah, he seemed to have a hunch that it would work. And he asked me, and I was like, I don't know. I was skeptical. So I was like, oh, but you're setting it to no. And he said, no, I think it'll flip it. And sure enough, he was right.
Huh.
So
Fascinating.
yep,
The development of a developer.
the development of the developer. All right, well, we are going to be back here tomorrow. I know at least one, Justin or Pablo will be here for office hours tomorrow. So excited to have them on. And that's happening at 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you would like to see that in your local time zone, you can head on to CoCreative NoCode.com. It's free to join. And you can look and you can see our schedule in your portal area. You can see the schedule for the Zooms, and you can go ahead and click that link at the time. And if it's your first time here, you can have a complimentary session. I do need to let you know, Thomas, that you'll probably start signing in because depending on who's running office hours, the link is going to start changing. So
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
yeah, so you'll probably like go to CoCreative NoCode and then click, and it'll bring you to the right place. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Thomas. Thank you, Kim, as always, for being here. And I will see you both tomorrow. And thank you for anyone who's been watching live, or if you're watching on the replay, I hope you can join us soon.